Right. Welcome to today's discussion on technology-based reflection. I'm reflecting on my teaching practice since my journey into a teaching profession and also recent development on that side. I'm doing this to understand and go deeper into my experience and then build some abstract conceptualization and then also plan for future um, future future experimentation. So let's share the slides. So we're here, right? So and then build a story behind around it. So my name is Dr. Krishna Bandari. I do my MAD in STEAM education at Department University. And then this topic is about technology-enabled reflection of my journey. This looks pretty interesting, like enough when I started and where I am here today. It's a long journey. So when I was studying, I used to have only pedagogy of the oppressed in the classroom as called by Paulo Freire. Over time now, I'm feeling the pain of that. I started to actually use the interactive classrooms, participatory pedagogy, and then the understanding that can be generated through activity-based learning and teaching. Without going to detail into my presentation, I would like to relate one video that I have created. This is the image that we took in an event. And also now I'm going to play a video that was created by one of my students. And we'll reflect on that in side by side when the video actually plays. This was the subject of my social entrepreneurship class. And then we were talking about business model of social entrepreneurship in contrast to traditional entrepreneurship. And these are the students, very good, innovative students. They created a story of their digital story of their own. I'm embedding that here. So he is saying that the world is actually getting into very immoral activities. Lewdness and charges, so that means the entrepreneurship is getting into greedy world, the fight for money and profit only. Social justice is a problem everywhere because the entrepreneurship that we thought from the Adam Smith's doctrine of wealth of nations, but with moral sentiments, and has not been actually practiced in reality. And the world is actually getting very, very dangerous place to live. So when the students were saying these things, I was immersed into my childhood and then my journey from a very humble beginning to the limelight of the multinational company. I embodied a pain of very, very deep pain of medium family in a remote hilly region. And then later, when I actually became a strategic management guru in my own company, my own multinational company, not my own company, but the company I work for, it was a mesmerizing and very exhilarating story. However, when this actually now reflection to the classroom and when we actually try to understand what good capitalism has done for the society and then whether the entrepreneurship formula has to be changed to social entrepreneurship. That is the calling that I got in this conversation. The dream that the father has about the son, I mean, these sons that are actually doing this kind of activities now in the classroom to understand what is social entrepreneurship. He tells a long story about telling tale. That is very interesting to explore and then understand, and then also build the narratives around this. And this is very interesting now why they are actually immersed into this subject and they took this by their heart and they wanted to understand how this can be used to transform the society. So let me get back to my reflection now because that was one of the event. This is another event, and then I have actually built in my last semester this traditional plus game-based thinking, plus inquiry-based thinking, and also art-based pedagogy as a trajectory from behavioral school to cognitivism to constructivism to now so-called JC diagram, the paradigm. So this is getting very interesting now when I actually sit down with my project into multidisciplinary approach and then also interdisciplinary approach and then also my transdisciplinary approach where normally we think about theme, concepts, life skills, real world context, students, questions, and so on and so forth. These kind of things in the classroom, in piloting handbook that I'm creating this semester, actually resulted into very many ideas and thinking behind it. So I'm putting this into this reflection into what was the concrete experience of piloting the handbook and draft, reflecting observation, abstract conceptualization, plan for active experimentation, and so on and so forth. So what I did was I built this experience from the classroom to the handbook development as a whole project, and they started to think about the concrete experience. The concrete experience is that this is mesmerizing the way I thought the literature actually is a solution. So I started with the deductive reasoning. I started with the concrete knowledge from the literature and then actually going to actually present that one. When I actually presented that one and had a discussion in the handbook discussion that resulted into very messy discussion. Some of the students, the participants actually talked about hegemony, whatever we call it, about the Western textbooks and then also the gurus, right? That drove me to think a lot now, what is exactly now I need to do in this handbook or the classroom in general. So this was triggered by the handbook session, but this is not the only one. And then as I reported, like what happened in the classroom, I started to relate where I am now in my journey, search for this knowledge and exploration. I started as a student, as technical paradigm of the Habermasian competitive interest, right? And then I slowly got into practical side of the engineering domain. And then now I am into economics and business, PhD level. I'm trying to understand where did I actually make sense, make meaning for my life. In this MA program, I started to realize that it is all about reflection and reasoning and then reconstructing. So the reasoning is that now in the future endeavor, I should not check anything written in these Western colonized thinking also like an art. We should not literally assimilate those without thinking and practicing in the real sense. What is the ground reality that you understand? That is my biggest takeaway. And in the following slides, I will talk about my reconstruction in the quality learning cycle. So what I did was I went to the literature I have gathered throughout the sessions, and then I looked into very interesting idea. From the participating teachers, it was suggested that rather than the pedagogies that I have been actually using, I rather use autocratic teacher and mitigation plan for mental health challenges as a handbook idea. Also, junior practical teachers wanted to understand what is personality development for me and my students. And also senior practical teachers also wanted to understand professional development. And critical teacher and emancipatory research wanted to be the main agenda. And JERC said that is gender, equity, equality, diversity, sustainability, and inclusive education. Oriented teachers who wanted to have transcendental search. And in some cases, AI in the classroom actually emerged. So when you look into these ideas emerging from these kind of discussions, I got into this very fascinating presentations by the students or the participants. They wanted to build a society that is the classroom, that is exactly of the parliamentary model, right? And then now I started to build this conceptualization based on Guitel's presentations in the TERST, TERS 22 November 4-6 Kathmandu conference in the Kathmandu University. Now, in his conceptualization, he was talking about communicating circle, and then also the technical circle as the core inside this. This is a Habermasian circle of technical interest. This is more practical interest, and this is more, it is all about the critical reasoning, and then also the emancipatory research. And then also you have self-circle and wisdom circle. Now it is mapping pretty interestingly that how we need to think about the world. So now we have disciplinary thinking, like for curriculum as subject matter, multidisciplinary thinking, curriculum as lived experience, interdisciplinary thinking, where curriculum as reconstruction, and transdisciplinary thinking, where curriculum as curated, and then also curriculum as montage can be the final wisdom circle. Though I have not actually crossed beyond this circle, the critical circle, the search is still continuing to understand how this can be operationalized. Okay. That will build into artistic circle, policy circle, and the community circle as shown in the figure. So this is the experimentation that I'm planning and testing in the future. So hopefully I made sense with the Paul's experiential cycle, with the concrete experience of my life journey, and then also my classroom experience, also my training experience. And then I built proposed changes, and then also the data sets that I gathered through that reflection and the meaning making and relating. I started to map that with the existing literature that was actually summarized by this beautiful slide by Rachel in the conference. So with this, I am actually on a journey to understand where I actually belong, who am I, and then also perhaps if I know who am I clearly, then we get into the wisdom circle at the end. Thank you very much for listening. Today's part was up to that. And if you would like to have more conversation on this side, I would be happy to have a conversation into my private time also, or can connect you with the LinkedIn and then also have a conversation there. Thank you very much.